Welcome to a Medieval Dynasty quick tip. So the very first thing you're going to have to decide when you start a game is which map you want to play on. If you hit new game, you will be presented with these two options, the Valley or the Oxbow. Note, you should be on the latest version, which is 2.2.0.8. If you are on Xbox One or PS4, you will not have these options because they do not get the latest updates. Sorry about that. But Xbox S and X and PS5 should have them. So, the Valley and the Oxbow. The first thing I would ask myself is, do I want to play co-op? Because if you want to play co-op, you have an easy choice. It's the Oxbow. The Valley, as you can see by the little icon of the person, the Valley is a solo map only. The Oxbow can be played solo or multiplayer. But what are the other differences? Well, let's start a Valley game and have a look. You get a cutscene, which I will skip. You should watch it. And the Valley is going to primarily present you story quests that have to do with a singular character, you. You do not create a character. You will be playing Rasimir. He looks like this. He has two different colored eyes. Piastovia is sort of the first town you'll probably run into because it's right here. The story in the Valley is primarily related to Rasimir's uncle. Rasimir is an orphan. He has an uncle who has gone missing, and he's come here to look for him and to start a new life. And when you go down into town, you will meet people who can tell you something about your uncle. And then you'll be doing a number of quests related to your uncle. But you go to the quest marker on your compass up there, and you'll find a guy named Unigost. And if you talk to him, that will start your quests. The other thing that is interesting and different about the Valley, when you finish talking to Unigost, in the top right, we can see Chapter 1, A New Beginning, and I need to gather sticks and stones. The quests in the Valley are either story quests, where you're investigating your uncle's disappearance, or they are tutorial quests, and those are called chapters, and those are only in the Valley map. So if I gather 10 sticks and 2 stones, we'll see that that quest has progressed, and now I should build a stone axe, and I should cut trees, and I need to make a wooden hammer, and I need to gather 32 straw. And you can see the quest has progressed to build your first home. It will continue like this. So there is a tutorial-like quest as well as a story quest in the Valley. The Valley map looks like this. It's a sort of lake and a couple of rivers connected. There are some mountains down here, and there are a number of different towns. There are 10 different towns and various little lakes and roads and stuff all over the place. It's very spread out in a way. There are some vendors in Piastovia where you started, but for being able to buy everything, you really need to run all over the map. Also, there are very different areas, like this mountainous area down here is completely different than this greener area up here around the river. In a future video, I'll get into interesting places to build on the map, but for now, so let's go have a look at the Oxbow. So if we start a new game in the Oxbow, we can either play solo or co-op. You can change this at any time once you've saved the map. Good to know is that when you are playing co-op, there is no server hosting, like you might know from Conan Exiles or Valheim. The person with the map on their machine is the one hosting it, and if they're not playing, the map is not accessible. For now, we'll go solo. There's another cutscene, which I will skip, but you should watch. And in this case, since you're not playing a predefined character, you have the opportunity to design your own character. And there are options for hair and eyes, typical stuff as you would expect. I'm just going to go with this guy for now and accept. You wake up in a sick house based on the cutscene that you watched. And now you have to, again, your quest marker up at the top, you have to go and find Sedowin. Now, Sedowin will give you a number of options, which I will just skip through. And when you get to this point where you ask him, so what now? He will either give you a list of tasks to do, which are quick tutorial things, or you can say, no, I don't need it, I'm fine. And he sends you off to talk to the Castellan. Now, you wake up in Piastovia. Piastovia is a pretty big town. The nice thing about it compared to the Valley is here there is a market which has 7 or 8 vendors in it, which makes it very easy to buy a lot of things. And it makes it even easier to sell a lot of things. And there's also a merchant over here in the tavern. So there are quite a lot of places to sell things once you start producing things that are worth money. Piastovia is a lot more convenient than Gostovia. Once you start traveling around, you will get quests which have to do with each town. And eventually you'll get quests which have to do with the leadership of each town. These are the quests you get here. Of course, your character is not defined, so you don't get quests related to your character. The other thing is there is this here, Noticeboard. Right now it's empty because I haven't done the very beginning stuff. But every season, the Noticeboard will update and will give you 4 to 6 quests that you can do that are usually pretty easy, like go collect some logs or make some arrows and bring them to someone or whatever. And those are a nice little way, if you're not really interested in the story, they're a nice little way of earning a little experience, a little money, and a little dynasty reputation. The Oxbow, personally, I like the Oxbow map more. So it's got more of a north-south running river. It only goes up to about here, even though there's more map there. It also shows you, which the Valley, I think, doesn't, shows you the red area around a town, which means this is an area you cannot build in and you cannot cut trees or mine stone. Here around each of these towns, there are fewer towns. There are only 4 towns in the Oxbow, which doesn't really matter. All of the vendors that are available on the Valley are also available on the Oxbow. And the quests and so on that you get are about as long. I haven't really exactly measured it, but they are a pretty similar length as far as how many quests there are to do. Personally, I like the Oxbow because Piastovia is so convenient, and I find the landscape interesting. You know, there's some mountains over towards Skalki. There's a bit of mountainous area over this way towards Ostoia, but Ostoia is built on a big lake, which is actually quite a nice town. Klonica is built on a river. And there's a big swampy area over here, which is also kind of interesting. And a lot of people build on islands in the river or near the river as it winds its way down to the south. The other difference is when you want to recruit villagers, which we'll explain in a future video, you see at the top on the compass, the people icons. The people that you can recruit for your village are outside of towns in the Oxbow. In the Valley, they're inside the town, but they both show up on the compass, so they shouldn't be hard to find. It's just there are more of them in the Valley because there are more towns, and they are sitting in a little camp outside of town, slightly outside of town, on the Oxbow, whereas in the Valley, they're inside the town. The other thing which is interesting, in the Oxbow, that is not available at all in the Valley, are abandoned buildings. If we run up here, straight out of Piastovia to the north, you'll see this building here, or these 2 buildings here. They make it easier to get a quick start because when you go into these buildings, I'm not going to completely loot this one, but for example, here's a copper axe, which you can use or sell for a bit of money. Here are beer bottles. You run around the other side. There are some, for example, oat beer sells for good money. You can open up the dumped loot. There's some money. There's more oat beer, which sells for good money, and so on. These buildings are littered all over the map. I think there are 15 of them. And if you start on the Oxbow and run around to all these buildings and collect everything, you start with a good bit of money and probably some okay tools and a bit more than you can on the Valley map. So that might influence your decision. Starting on one or the other is your choice, unless you want to play co-op. Then you have to start on the Oxbow. I hope this has helped you select a map, and see you in future quick tips. If you like this, like it. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. That's also interaction, and a sub would be appreciated. It helps the channel a lot. I wish you great times in Medieval Dynasty. Enjoy.